right, ladies and gentlemen, so welcome to the low and slow edition, the gangster edition, the I'm going to kick you in the grill and bust your snot box edition of Big Muscle. I saw this car at a car show in Dallas. Fell in love. Now, a lot of cars that we look at, you know how we do things, right? 500 horsepower, tire smoking, donut spinning things. This is not that thing. This is a car that you want to cruise at 35 through town with the windows up, these big tinted windows up. You want people to wonder who's inside. You want people to comment. You want fathers to hide their daughters, and you want mothers to want to climb in and get rid of their husbands. That's how I feel about this. This is a 1972 Dodge Monaco, and it's just glorious. Now, in its own right, when it first came out, the Monaco was really not that much to look at. It was kind of a big executive two-door coupe. You bought this car if you were actually making some money, you wanted to roll up to the Christmas party and look good, and you still had a wife and kids you had to throw in the back and still look respectable. So Danny, the owner of this car, had a vision. He said, I can make this into something. Now, he's the first man, I think, in the history of the world that's ever looked at a 72 Monaco and said, I can make this into something. What I think he did is fantastic. You're gonna notice obvious things about this car. You're gonna notice, one, it has a shaker hood. That was never offered in 1972. You're gonna notice it has staggered 20-inch wheels up front and 22s in the back. I am not a big wheel rubber band guy. It's just not my thing. But in this particular application, it works beautifully. The car is slammed. There's no bags in here, it's just slammed. However, I don't pogo up and down. I'm not rubbing anything, going over bumps or anything. So it actually rides quite well. Power-wise, not crazy. Not even remotely crazy. It's a small block. It's a 360. I don't know, maybe it makes about 180, 200 horsepower, but that's okay. Because this car, like I said, I just want to lump. I want to cruise. I want to put my arm out the window. I want to look at chicks in this car, and I want them to look at me.
Oh, it's a unique looking car. There's a lot of beauty to the front end, the hideaway headlights, the uniqueness, the rareness. You just don't find them. I think probably 90% of them are probably crushed by now. I think that my quest in cars is I like to find the unusual, the stuff that you don't see, and not the everyday run-of-the-mill type of vehicle. The styling on that car, the use of the fabric inside, the cloth, the top, how it looks kind of chop top with the vinyl top, the hideaway headlights, the bumper. I mean, it's very unique. The body line, the whole scheme of it. It's just a very unusual car. In fact, when the car was delivered, the guys next door at the body shop just shook their head. They thought I had lost it. They couldn't believe I could take a 72 Monaco and turn it into something, from ugly duckling to swan. It's a challenge.
This is one of those oddball cars that you could buy inexpensively and you could start to get into hot rodding. You can kind of experiment with your vision of what a cool lowrider or kind of, I don't know, personality is. You could do that in a car like this. Interior-wise, I love it. I love the fact that back in the 60s and the 70s, designers had ideas. They were allowed to run a little bit wild. Now, this being a 72, they started designing it back in, I don't know, maybe 70. They were coming off the 60s with all the parties and all the drugs and all the alcohol. So it doesn't surprise me in the least that this has a paisley interior, and it's pretty cool. I really dig it. This is a bench seat, but it's a bench seat with buckets, which is kind of nice as well. It's actually quite comfortable. And you know what it's not? Exciting. Right now I have it floored. Foot's on the floor. 45, 50, 55, 60. You want to make a sandwich? That's 65, 70, 75, 75. Right now the 360 is capable. You could totally cruise along at highway speeds. We're doing 65 right now and it feels good, but it's mildly anemic for a car weighing over 4,000 pounds and for one being 18 feet long.
The best thing about that car is just a huge boat, and you're at the helm, and you've got this bench seat, you're sitting there, and the foam is a little wore out, so you're sitting real low in the seat, and you get this very lowrider-ish feel. But going down the road, it's a reaction, people looking at the car, because one, they probably in their whole life have never seen one of those. Two is the way it's been lowered, and the wheels and the stance. And you know, it's the thing that I strive to do on these cars is complete attitude. You give them a stance, you put the right set of wheels on it, you've got to have the notes coming out of the exhaust, and that's the formula with some tinted windows. And you can take, and I've proven it, you can take about any car except maybe an Eldorado to doll up, and you can take a car and make it just badass.
If you're an old guy, right, and you were some kind of, if you were somebody that's going to be respected, what are you going to drive? What did Tony Soprano drive? He drove a big Suburban. Why did he drive a Suburban? Because it was the biggest American thing he could get his hands on. That's why he drove it. Gangsters of old, why do you think they drove a 20-foot long Cadillac? You know, Sevilles and DeVilles and Eldorados. Because it has a presence, it has a power to it that very, very few other cars can match, right? You could have a guy in a Ferrari pull up next to you, but you know what? He's gonna look at this thing, he might not think it's fast, he might think it's a little odd looking, but from a size perspective, it cannot be matched. The other part is, even though it's only got a 360 in it, all he hears is he doesn't know if there's a 440 in here or, you know, a Hemi. He has no idea. All he hears are big pipes coming out of a big car with a big dude behind the wheel. And that's cool.